What are some things people have done as candidates that really made your job easier and made the headhunting process more successful?
There's so many little things that you could do that
Hmm.
helps. The best way is just asking when they do have a position, then it'll be easy for them to just search their emails and find you.
Esther, it's been like 3 years. Great to see you again. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Absolutely. For the few people who don't know you, can you give a little bit about your background in recruiting and LinkedIn coaching?
Sure. I changed my job several times and then I became a headhunter. So I was a
Mhm.
headhunter for 6 years and 6 months, and then I moved in-house. And currently I'm
Mm.
working at a medical device company as a HR VP and the head of the recruiting team. So
Mhm.
I'm a talent acquisition, and um, I also have many side jobs. One of them
Mhm.
is teaching LinkedIn to people so that they could use it to find jobs and develop their careers.
That is awesome. I think that is something that can be a little bit underutilized in Korea is using LinkedIn. So I love that there are people like you with big networks that are showing the value of building your LinkedIn profile. So thinking back to your time as an agency recruiter, because that'll be the main topic for today, why should people use recruiting agencies? What's the advantage of reaching out to a headhunter versus just clicking apply by yourself?
There's so many advantage actually, but I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
the top advantage is because you want to make the more possibilities as you can.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what this means is, I think when you are just applying for one job or trying to connect with some recruiter that's in-house, they only have certain positions in their company that they could provide, but it's
Hmm.
not always
Hmm.
open. It might not fit you. But when you try to connect with the agency recruiter, they work with multiple companies. And even though they don't have a position that fits you, they might have advice like you should look into blah, blah, blah company, or they'll tell
Hmm.
you you
Hmm.
should try to wait for like this certain season. They'll give you these kinds of advice because they know so many other companies that might have similar positions open. And then they would also want to collect your resume because in the future they might be able to recommend a position to you. So just to make the possibilities open more, I think it's
Hmm.
a great
Hmm.
way just to connect with recruiters.
Absolutely. In addition to the making more possibilities, it also seems like it'd be a much better use of your time. Because, in the traditional sense, when you apply, you're just applying to one company. But if you reach out to an agency recruiter, it's almost as if you're applying to 25 or 30 or 50 companies because they'll be taking a look at all of the jobs and companies within their network that might fit you.
Yes.
So, what is the best method of reaching out to agency recruiters? From your time when you were one, did you prefer people LinkedIn messaging you, going through the website? What would you recommend?
So I think there's three ways that you could reach out to recruiters. But I think the best way is actually getting a referral. So if you
Okay.
know somebody, like a friend that's in the same area of business, like if you're in the fashion business, or like if you're in the IT, like a certain kind of technical business or things like that, then usually the headhunters have work on similar positions in similar areas of business. So
Hmm.
it's not like one person could um, carry out like all the categories of business, because there is a limit for recruiters. So recruiters usually
Hmm.
they focus in certain areas of of recruiting. So if you could get a referral, that's actually the best because then you would know that this person is actually hiring in the area that you're working in. But
Mhm.
if you don't get a referral, it'll take more time because you'll be reaching out to more and more recruiters and they'll say, I don't have a position for you. I can't actually help you. You'll get that
Mhm.
response a lot. So
Okay.
you would want like the right response, right? Yeah, I actually have like this kind of position that will fit you. So you'll need to know if they actually have like a position that would be a good fit with you.
Makes total sense. Yeah. Would
Mm.
you recommend only reaching out when you are actively job searching, so you want a new position ASAP? Or could it make sense to reach out a little bit in advance?
I think advance. Um,
Mhm.
there's many reasons why. Because recruiters, they would also want to ping pong with you. They would like to have a video call with you.
Sure,
Also,
sure.
also they might have good advice on how you should change your resume. And
Hmm.
also, mm, also many other things. I think they could give you a lot of advice. And if you get to know them, then in the long run, they could actually really let you know like what kind of positions are open. Also,
Hmm.
even though you're not open to a position, they might have like a really good position. Like for example, they might have an opening at Google, then
Hmm.
why not try, even though you're not open to positions, right? So I
Hmm.
think it's
Hmm.
better just to send your resume when you think about it. Like not even if you're, even though you're not really open to positions.
Hmm. Hmm. If you're considering job searching, it's probably worth trying.
Mm-mm.
So, what about this? When you send that first message to them, what should you say and how should you structure it? Because I think their response rates, it can also be determined by the quality of your message.
So sad to say, like recruiters are really super busy,
Oh, yeah.
and if you don't really, if they really don't have a position to like connect with you,
Hmm.
then actually they might really like not read your message at all. So that's pretty
Hmm.
sad. So I
Hmm.
think the best way is just asking for their email address and giving them like what kind of direction of career that you're trying to focus into. Like for some people, if like, you're an engineer and you have your back-end engineer and you have
Hmm.
been doing a lot of development in that area, but then also you have been studying data. So now you're trying to change your career into a data engineer, for
Hmm.
example.
Hmm.
Then you should say, I've been a back-end engineer for several years and I've been working on these kinds of projects. But then now I want to be a data engineer and I'm trying to figure out like what kind of company might be open for these
Hmm.
kinds of
Hmm.
positions. And then you want to explain about your experience and your career and the direction that you want to go.
Hmm.
So I think
Hmm.
that's the point that you might want to put in your message. Don't make it too long. I think that's a good, I think that's really good intro and
Hmm. Hmm.
also at the main message that you would want to send. And
Hmm.
then asking for their email address is really good. And I think sending your email to their email address is like the most important because after you get their email address, you would want to send your resume, like, and also your LinkedIn profile at the same time. And then when they do have a position, then it'll be easy for them to just really like search their emails and find you and then reach.
Oh, got it, got it.
So you should want to keep some keywords inside your email body to let them really find you again when they do
Mm,
have a certain position that will fit you.
that's awesome. That's a great tip. So maybe reach out on LinkedIn first, give enough about your background that they understand what you've done, and the type of job you're interested in, but don't make it too long. That's a great tip. Would you
Mm.
attach your resume when you first reach out on LinkedIn, or would you wait till you get their email?
No, I would not send my resume up through LinkedIn. I feel that that's not professional. And also, because you want to like protect yourself also, because you don't know if
Mhm.
this recruiter is like, um, have a good protocol or like, you're not sure. I think you should send it through to their emails if possible. And usually, if you're reaching out through LinkedIn, your profile is already on your LinkedIn page. So I
It's a good
think
point.
it's
Yeah.
nonsense to add, your resume. But the reason why you want to add your resume on the email is because after they find you, you would want them to go through your, email
Sure, sure.
resume. And also, I think if you just send it to their emails when they not interest like when they do not have like a position that could really fit you, then they might forget, but then later it'll pop up in their heads. So also another
Mhm.
tip that I would like to give you is also put like your job title in the email title, the title.
Nice, nice. And when you say job title, that should probably be the job that you want. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
The job that you want. It could be several job positions, like two or three also. You could put a
Mm-hmm.
comma. And if you're trying to relocate, then I would also add like, um, I'm trying to relocate to Korea, or I'm trying to relocate, or I am trying to find a job in Korea, or trying to find a job overseas, etc.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great. Make it as easy as possible for them to get that key information later. Nice, nice. Those are great tips. I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to the messages to recruiters, they kind of fall into two extremes.
Hmm.
There's either they send this giant multi-paragraph message where they explain their entire career, or they'll send like one sentence. They'll just attach a resume and say, "Do you have any good roles for me?" Which is actually one that I get fairly often because sometimes people think I'm a recruiter on LinkedIn. So I really like your advice. There is a middle ground where you're giving them enough information that they can get what they want, but you're not telling them your entire life story in message one.
You don't want to make it look like spam. It's the same. Think of it like if you're a candidate and then a company reaches out to you, but then they like send a long message, but you're not
Hmm.
interested. I mean, it
Hmm.
feels like
Hmm.
spam, even though it's not.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's a great tip. And like you said, they're busy. If it's going to take them multiple minutes to read and understand your message, the chance that they're going to respond goes down by a lot.
yeah. And you might not be targeting the right person. So, you
Hmm. Hmm. So let's say things move forward. You introduce yourself. They say, hey, let's get on a call. As a candidate, what should you be prepared to talk about on that virtual call with the agency recruiter?
actually, recruiters usually, if they arrange a call with you, they would already have a lot of questions to ask you. So you would actually be the one replying back to them. But
Hmm.
then I think like smart questions that you could ask might be like, do you think there are positions open for me right now? Like several positions. Do
Hmm.
you think I'll be able to move in a certain period of time? I think those kinds of questions will be good because will be able to understand like the current market right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you keep on like connecting with recruiters, then they will also give you a lot of advice. So you could build up your questions from there also. And
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
they're trying to connect you with a certain company, then now you would want to ask smart questions about the company itself.
That makes total sense. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. When it comes to their questions to you, what can you expect? They're probably going to ask about your background and what you're looking for. Anything more detailed than that that you should be prepared to explain?
If you already received a job description, then you would want to be prepared to explain, like, line by line, what kind of project, like what kind of experience you actually have that meets their job
Mm,
descriptions, the qualifications. I
mhm,
think that's a really good thing that you should get prepared for. Mostly the questions that they ask is pretty fixed. Like, why are you
mhm,
trying to move
mhm.
from a company? Or why did you leave your current company? Things like
Yeah, yeah.
that.
So I'm sure you've had a ton of good and bad experiences working with candidates as a headhunter. What are some things people have done as candidates that really made your job easier and made the headhunting process more successful? And then we can do the opposite after.
There's so many little things that you could do that
Hmm.
helps. If you're good for that position, then usually everything goes really well. So I guess just being prepared really. Do your studies, like about the company, about the role, also about how you want to explain yourself, which is not easy. You should have 3 to 5 projects that you worked on already in your mind, like the name of the project, the scale of the project,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
like what kind of role you actually did in that project, and the advantage you gave to your company, and
Hmm.
also your role, and like the period of that project and things like that.
Hmm.
And if you keep up with all the details in those kinds of like 3 or 5 projects, then you'll be able to give good examples, because
Hmm.
usually what they
Hmm.
want to hear is, are you able to do this kind of like certain kind of task?
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
you would want to give a certain example to explain that. You won't
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
don't want to hear like, yes, I could do it. Like, what?
Hmm. Yeah. They don't want you to just say, I have insert skill here. Give a
Yeah.
story or give an example that proves you have it.
Mhm.
Because they're not hiring you, but they are checking to see if you're hireable.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and if all you say is, okay, yeah, there are 12 skills here. Yeah, I think I have these. That's not a
Mhm.
very convincing argument that you're going to be a good candidate.
Yeah. And if you didn't have much like interview experience, then usually they're not prepared at all. Of course, they know what they did, but they're not able to explain well about what they did.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
explaining well and actually doing that task are two different things. That's what I also want to emphasize a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You need to practice.
Hmm. Hmm. And I would say practice with somebody who understands your industry but doesn't really know you,
Mm,
because
mm.
that's going to be what you experience on the call. They probably understand your industry, so you can use some of those terms, but you need to explain it in a way that gives enough background and is organized enough that anyone can follow what you're saying.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, you kind of already answered the last question about mistakes, just not being prepared or kind of just saying, yeah, I have these skills without any evidence. Is there anything else that people should avoid?
In Korea, usually many uh, candidates are very conservative, and so they don't want to open like their information. Like, sometimes
Mm,
they don't want
mhm,
to talk about their salary and things like that. But
mhm.
usually it's better to be more open to your
Yeah,
recruiter.
yeah.
Mm, mm. The more clear you are, actually, the better they could connect.
Yes,
So
yes.
usually, I think they have some kind of, I'm not sure, but there are really weird agency recruiters sometimes.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I want people to avoid those people. But other than that, usually, being really open is like the best way to,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
yeah, connect.
Yeah, I was preparing someone for an agency recruiting call recently, And when we were talking about what they want, they said a good work culture. I was like, how about salary? They said, oh, just a good salary. I was like, okay, what is a good salary? Well, I would like to earn something similar to what I was earning this year at my last job. And I'm thinking, as the agency recruiter, I don't know what good salary is in your mind, and I don't know what you earned at your last job. So let's plan a more specific number or range here.
I had a candidate also. She wasn't that specific, like on what she wanted. She just said she wanted to go to a company that's bigger than her current company.
Hmm.
So I introduced her to like several companies that are just bigger, and she said no to all of it. So then I didn't reach out to her at all because I didn't know what she wanted. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then later, I had a call with her, and then she said, "Oh, I actually wanted to go to that company. It's a smaller company, but then they could give her a higher salary, and the environment was they communicate all in English." She actually wanted to work in that kind of environment.
Hmm.
And then I already placed somebody in there because I didn't know she was
Yeah, you
interested
didn't
in
know
that.
that's what she wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you need to be really
Hmm.
clear and open.
Hmm. Yeah, people, they can't read your mind. Communicate
Hmm.
with them. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for these great tips, Esther. Where can people follow you and learn more from you?
Definitely my LinkedIn. I would like to
Hmm.
connect with you.
Totally. I'll put
And
that below.
and if you're in Korea, I do LinkedIn workshops. So if you're interested, you can follow me there too.
Awesome. I will put links to Esther's LinkedIn workshops below. I can't recommend her enough. I've learned a lot from her. She's a great person to have in your network and to learn from. So thank you so much for your time, Esther.
Thank you so much for having me, Grant.